Good evening. This is the Design Review Commission meeting on Monday, October 23rd for the City of San Gabriel. First item is the call to order. It is now 6:34, and with that, we will go to our Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Chair Sala.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Jackie, will you please do the roll call?
Chair Romo,
Here.
Vice Chair Salo,
Here.
Commissioner Tu, Commissioner Chang,
Commissioner Chang is absent this evening.
and Commissioner Lopez.
Here.
Thank you.
Tonight's meeting is live stream on cable channel 3 and on our online platforms. To prevent any overlaps in comments, each commissioner will be called upon to speak. Item number 1, public comment. This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the Design Review Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda, but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the Design Review Commission cannot answer any questions or take any actions until such time as the matter may appear as an item on a future agenda. If you wish to address the Design Review Commission, please fill out a speaker card that is available on the back table. Once completed, kindly submit the card to the recording secretary. Speakers will be called upon to the podium one by one. Each speaker will be given up to 3 minutes. Do we have any speakers?
We did not receive any, Chair.
Great. Next item we have is a consent calendar, but we have no business, no votes on that, so we will go into our public hearings.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Design Review Commission. Good evening. Thank you for participating and tuning into tonight's Design Review Commission meeting. My name is Samantha Tiwasar, Planning Manager with the Community Development Department. There are 5 public hearing items this evening. Copies of the agenda and staff report are available on the city's website at www.sangabrielcity.com. And as mentioned by the chair, also on the table that's by the entrance. If you wish to speak on an item this evening and are not the project applicant or part of the applicant team, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the recording secretary. And speaker cards are also available on the back table. Please write down the item number that you would like to speak on, and speakers will be called up one by one to the podium during the public hearing portion of each item. And each speaker will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. If you are filling out a speaker card, please hand the card to Jackie this evening. Any decisions made by the Design Review Commission this evening is appealable to the City Council, and the deadline for filing an appeal on an application made this evening is Monday, November 6th. Otherwise, the decision made tonight will be effective on November 7th. For each item this evening, staff will provide a summary of the staff report, followed by a presentation from the applicant team if there is a presentation, and then the public hearing portion will be open. After the public comments, the applicant is provided the opportunity to rebut if they choose, and prior to the close of the public hearing, the commission may ask questions of the applicant's staff or the city architect. However, once the public hearing is closed, the opportunity for public comment has ended. And at this time, Madam Chair, staff is ready to present item A.
Wonderful. Item A, 327 East Broadway, planning case number PPD 22-008, precise plan of design, applicant Eric Sang. Presentation will be made by Christine Son.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. The item before you tonight is a request for the approval of a precise plan of design to allow the development of 13 residential condominiums at 327 East Broadway. The project site is located on the north side of East Broadway between St. Francis Street and South California Street to the east. The site is bordered by multifamily residences in all directions in the same R3 zone, and the property is currently a vacant lot. The old house that existed on the property was demolished in July of 1994 due to fire damage. The project site is zoned R3 and has a general plan land use designation of high-density residential. The project was first heard by the DRC last month on September 25th and was continued due to the following issues. Project renderings were inconsistent with the elevation drawings. There was a 40-inch coast live oak canopy and trunk location that wasn't shown, I guess, completely accurately, which is located on the adjacent property. An arborist report was requested for the condition of all the oak trees proposed for removal, and it was noted that all the oaks being removed should be replaced in kind. And lastly, additional landscaping was asked to be provided in open space areas. So the revisions that have been provided are the project renderings were updated to show consistent window styles as shown in the elevation drawings. The site plan now shows the 40-inch oak tree outside of the project site's boundaries. An arborist report was provided and was included in your staff report packets tonight. And it was noted that 3 of the oak trees are proposed to remain and be protected. And I believe it's an additional 7 oak trees that are being removed from the property. Additional trees and landscaping were provided throughout the property, and landscape planters were also added to the roof deck. The proposed project complies with all of the R3 development standards in terms of density, lot coverage, building height, setbacks, parking, and open space. These are the updated renderings for the project. The windows have been updated to match the elevations. On August 14th, 2023, the Planning Commission approved the proposed tentative track map for the proposed development with a 4-0 vote. For the general plan, high-density residential allows for the multifamily residential development that's proposed. It would meet housing goals 2.1 and 2.2. The project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The technical studies relating to traffic, air quality, greenhouse gases, and noise were prepared by a city-selected environmental consultant, which was Michael Baker International, and the project was found to meet the conditions necessary for a Class 32 categorical exemption. The public notice was provided in the following ways: mailed notices to all property owners and tenants within a 500-foot radius. A notice was posted at the project site as shown in the photo on the screen. Agendas were posted at City Hall, the Post Office, and the Public Library, and was also advertised in the San Gabriel Sun on October 12, 2023. With that, staff recommends that the Design Review Commission adopt a resolution approving planning case number PPD 22-008 at 327 East Broadway to allow the development of the proposed condominium subdivision subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Thank you, Christine. At this time, we will have the commissioners have as staff any clarifying questions. Commissioner Tu?
No, I don't have question for staff. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Chair Sala?
No questions for staff.
I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
And the applicant is present tonight.
The applicant can come forward.
Yes. Hi, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Eric Sang. I'm the architect for this project. Thank you for being here tonight to review this project. The project was revised per staff's presentation earlier, and I have nothing to add to that. I'm here with the landscape architect tonight in case if you have any questions. Camille from Two Tree Design is here also, so thank you. Oh, okay.
have question for the architectural designer. I do have question in regarding the decision of like the trees to be remain or to be removed. What is the thought behind that? Which tree to be chosen to be remain?
Okay, so initially we have all the trees to be removed the last hearing, but after hearing the comments from the board, we try to find the trees that is most likely to survive the construction. So that would be 3 of the trees that's most to the side of the lot. And beneath those trees, we have revised the walkway to be gravels instead of concrete to minimize the disturbance to the existing roots, and hope that they will do survive and after the construction.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Chair Sela?
Is it possible to bring up a site plan and have you point out for us the 3 oak trees that have been identified to remain as part of the project? I want to see how they fit with the proposed development.
I don't know how to use this. Want it? Okay. Next. Okay. Yeah. So I don't. There's no site plan on this presentation, but I think we can look at the aerial map here. So there are 3 trees that is along this side of the property line that we're keeping.
So all 3 trees are on the east setback against the property line, is that
That's correct. Yes, and it's away from the proposed buildings.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and
That's fine, Eric, I
okay.
understand. Thank you.
And on the arborist report, those trees are in a better condition than the other trees, and that's the reason why we're keeping that.
I don't have additional questions, thank you.
I do have a question regarding the oak tree, actually.
Okay.
There's one that's slated to be removed. It's tree number 13 on the inventory site list. That one is on the other side of the project. So it's on the west side of the project, right there.
This one?
That tree is the summary of condition is a B, so it's not a weaker tree. It does have a height of 25 feet with a spread of 20 feet. And it looks from your site plan that area there is for the driveway with the pavers. So I'd like to see if it's possible to save that tree as well, because it is in a good condition. I know there are several here that are in condition E, which no one wants to save those
Okay.
because we don't want anyone getting hurt, your construction crew, the residents, or any visitors to the site. But that tree, it looks like there might be enough room.
Yeah, my concern about that tree is because it's next to driveway. There's going to be a lot of traffic, but I can defer this question to the landscape architect to see if we can possibly save that tree. So, thank you.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. Hi, my name is Camille. I'm the landscape architect from Two Tree Design. For this question, I don't recommend to remain the two oak tree on the driveway, even though we designed the permeable pavers under the drip line, because it's a driveway and residential cars every day driving above it bring the impact on the root system. So eventually, even though we keep it and with the permeable paver, I think eventually it will die. Yeah.
Do you know the width of the driveway?
Should be 25,
The width of the driveway, yeah,
Yeah.
25 feet.
25 feet.
25 feet, so the driveway's 25. That tree, I mean, looking at the long-term health of the tree, I think is an important consideration. So this tree would probably grow with a trunk size of easy 40 inches in diameter within the next 50 years.
For the coast live oak, the protected zone is 12 feet
12 feet.
offset from the trunk. That's the most essential root protected zone. Yeah, 12 feet to 15 feet. Yeah. So, but you know, the coast live oak, their root system is pretty expanded. I mean, it's under the whole
Right.
drip line.
Right,
Yeah.
because right now,
Mm.
from what I understand from trees, the way the canopy is, the root system is kind of the reciprocal below the ground. So if you have a 20-foot canopy right now, those
Yeah.
roots go down,
Mm-hmm.
20 feet wide.
Yeah. Well, even though we try our best to protect it, but because it's on the driveway and it will take up like 12 feet away from the driveway, and I don't think the residents, they can driving avoid the oak.
So when trees are on the parkway, and we have several examples of
Mhm.
oak trees being on the
Mhm.
parkway, both in San Gabriel, neighboring Temple City,
Mhm.
San Marino, Pasadena.
Mhm.
What's the difference between those parkway trees and, with cars driving near the driveway and going by the street and parking right adjacent to the trees?
The oak tree on the parkway, there's no traffic impact directly on the essential root zone. But for the driveway, that's daily, every day, morning and evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the oak will not like die within 3 months, but it will gradually decline. Yeah, it probably will take a few years.
Thank you. Any other questions for the landscape architect? Yes.
I do have a question.
Commissioner Tu?
So I see there's 3 oak trees that are smaller that's been remain adjacent to the east property line. It's really close to the building. What exactly is going to happen during construction?
First, during the demolition, the contractor will set the protection fence. And it will mark on the officer report, and also the landscape plan, we will mark up the location of the protection fence. So inside the protection fence, they cannot store the material or the rebars and those things. They cannot clean up the machine. Yeah. That's the way to protect it. Yeah.
Okay, the trees will remain there during the whole course of the construction, right?
Yes.
So when the fence of the unit is constructed, how to make sure that the foundation of those fence is not going to interrupt with the roots of the tree? 'Cause it looks like it's only like a couple feet away.
Yeah, honestly, my personal point of view, I don't recommend to have that existing oak remain, because it's kind of not feasible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was curious
Yeah.
about.
So in the beginning of the design, we proposed to remove. Yeah. But I mean, I know we all try best to keep it, but that would be very difficult.
Okay, thank you. So that's what I was curious, because it seems like the design team tried really hard to keep those 3 trees, but I doubt it's going to survive during the construction. What is going to, I mean,
Even though it's not going, even though it will survive during the construction, I'm not sure it will survive, I mean, after a few years. It probably will gradually decline. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yes, Ron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Similar question. The 3 small trees that are to remain, one in front of building number 3, one in building number 4, one in building number 5, they look like they're right in the middle of the walkway.
Yes.
So can you even, because it's so narrow between the perimeter wall and the garden wall, and now you have a tree there, can you even circulate around that? And the next question tied to that is, especially in the one in front of building number 3, it shows the canopy. The canopy not only extends past the garden wall that Commissioner Tu mentioned, but it extends under the footprint of the house. So this is clearly compromising the root system.
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, I have a question and then an observation, perhaps. Now, I used to live in Arcadia, and there are a number of oak trees, including some of them that encroach into the street, into the roadway, and you have to kind of, be careful at night, with the flares there, you don't hit the tree. How is it those trees with the pavement on top of the root system able to survive? And you're saying that in the driveway, the tree number 13, cited by our chair, would not survive.
I mean, from the design aspect, the right way to do under the oak drake line is mulch, and there's no even a pebble or the gravel, because it will bring the weight onto the root system. But I know in the real world, there are a lot of way to to put the gravel, big pebble, or boulder, or the asphalt, or the concrete, and the oak still survive. I know, but from the design, we cannot do that. We will do the best for the oak. So always the permeable or the mulch.
I see, which kind of takes me to my comment portion. I don't believe this endeavor has been a good faith effort on your part to salvage the trees. The trees are important, not only to our environment, but they're protected. So I wouldn't say upset about it, but I am concerned that, in my view, it's kind of disregarding, and you're prioritizing your design or your profit or whatever you want to call it over things that are protected by law. And that concerns me.
Vice Chair Salo, do you have any additional comments? Yes.
Sorry, one more thought. We're looking at 2 dimensions here, but in reality, there's going to be 3 dimensions. There's grading involved, and so has the finished grade of whatever is adjacent to the trees been reviewed with where the tree is now? Because you can't bury the tree, you can't expose the roots.
We do not have a grading plan as of now. And I mean, if the trees are to remain on site, when we do the grading plan, we will have to work with the civil engineer and try to keep the same grade, at least, I mean, where the oak tree is at. So that that hasn't been done yet, and it's going to be with the complete construction documents that we're going to be doing a grading plan.
And there's probably remediation if a tree dies, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yes, then it would be subject to the replacement requirement of the trees that are being removed.
Vice Chair Sela?
Yeah, I'd like to see as part of the conditions of approval, a procedural plan written by the landscape architect for best practices for preserving this tree during construction. And that would include site observations by the landscape architect to make sure that the contractor is compliant with the recommended procedures. And I think, you know, if we make our best effort to preserve the 3 trees that have been identified, you know, we could possibly move forward with this project. But I'd like to see that as part of the conditions of approval. Thank you.
And I think there was another, an issue that you brought up, which was the new trees that are being planted. Because those trees, and I think that was part of the discussion with the city, how that came about as kind of a way to justify cutting down some of the trees. But I think when you look at tree placement, and you might be able to discuss this with Enlighten the commission, but each one of those trees can grow fairly large. They grow about a foot a year, maybe more than that, depending on rain and water. But you could have significant amount of overcrowding of the trees. Do you have any concerns regarding that?
So we have submitted the arborist report along with a tree removal application to the planning department, and that was reviewed, and a decision was made for the number of replacement tree. So it was required for us to replace 10 oak trees and two other trees that is also a native tree, I believe. But I mean, Camille can contribute in for that. But, and then we were able to place them on to this project. So we have currently on the proposed landscape plan, 10 new oak trees and 2 Chinese fringe tree.
Chinese fringe tree is a street
Street
tree.
tree, okay.
10 holy oak, and then 14 fern pine. Fern pine is a class 1 trees in city of San Gabriel.
So with your knowledge as being a landscape architect, is the placement of the new oak trees, is there enough room for all of those oak trees to grow and flourish?
In the beginning, I was told that we need to replace with coast live oak, but my opinion is coast live oak takes a lot of space. The 30 inches box coast live oak, we have to give it space of 10 feet radius. That's the new proposed oak. But you can see from the site plan, we don't have that much space between the unit. I call it courtyard. So I propose a holy oak. Holy oak is a little bit smaller than the coast live oak. And the mature size for the holy oak will be like a 40 to 50 feet high. And the coast live oak, the mature coast live oak will grow to like a 50 to 60 feet high. So because the space, so we choose the little smaller oak variety. So I use the holy oak. The holy oak, 36 inches a box of holy oak, will give it like a 5 feet radius. Yeah, that would be okay, pretty enough. And
And-
I tolerate some shade, so it's perfect for the courtyard.
All right. So, I'm looking to you as an expert to enlighten us here.
No, I want to explain the detail, yeah. But the Holy Goat is not native, but
Yeah.
Coast Life is native.
Okay. So, I don't think we have any more questions for the applicant. Why don't we go to C? If we have any comments from the public?
Did not receive any public comment.
It is now 7:05, and the time for public comment on this item is now closed. Does staff have any additional comments? All right, then we will go into our deliberation. Commissioner Tu?
Yes, I think the focus was still about the protected trees, and is that going to be some sort of agreement between the applicant and the city that the compensation will be determined based on the design approval today? Is that how it's going to happen?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the commission, it's conditioned that the project shall comply with the replacement requirements. As mentioned by the applicant, an application has been filed with the department, and the city, in working with the city arborist as well as the city landscape architect, will confirm that it complies with the requirements for the replacement, whether it be the tree in itself or if there's an in lieu requirement, staff will follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. I think I would just leave a note here because I mean, it seems like the applicant was arguing that if the trees to be protected or remain, it would hurt the project financially. I do look at the plan, potentially not losing any unit, but just swapping some location of the unit. It might help the project to do that. I'm hesitate to propose that because I mean, the applicant has spent so much time and money to get to this point, and then the design. I personally like the architectural design a lot, and I just wish that any design team or developer can take a close look at the trees in the property before you start the design, and just to avoid like losing those trees that possibly can be saved in the future. That's my thoughts.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
I do have a question. In the remediation process, can you, I guess my question is, let's say a tree dies, what happens? When the tree dies, does the city come out and say, yeah, the tree's dead, it needs to be somehow replaced or something, and who monitors that? And what recourse does the city have for non-compliance? And is there a bond requested or availability or required to post so that there's no back and forth that, well, no, that's too expensive or that'll cost us too much money, that we have this tiny little thing here that we're going to replace it with a little Christmas tree or something along those lines. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned that we're bypassing all these things for the sake of the applicant, which in my mind has not shown a good faith effort to save the trees. It would behoove you that you would go out there and look, and if your plan needs to be altered, then that's what you need to do to save, because that's what has gotten our environmental crises to this point. Everybody bypassing it, passing the buck, doing remediation and things of that sort. None of that ever happens. Everybody weasels out of their obligations. So I like the design. I think we need the housing. I'm all for more housing. But I think it's come to a point that it cannot be at the expense of our environment. My fellow commissioner mentioned that she sees ways that perhaps it could be altered or something like that. Well, if that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do. There's, I'm flabbergasted about this not good faith effort in doing it. We can't just say, well, I don't recommend it, and we are only going through this motion because it was required last time as a condition, and then come back with the same thing, and not a viable, in my mind, it's not a viable plan to save these trees. And we can't rely on this remediation thing unless they're going to post a $200,000 bond or something, a guarantee, a financial guarantee, not subject to any overriding, that those trees will be replaced somehow. So, again, I understand the remediation thing, but I don't think that's sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Sala?
Yeah, considering that staff and the city architect have reviewed this project, we reviewed this project last month. They've done a lot of work in 30 days. I'm actually kind of surprised they're back here so quickly, and with the amount of work that they've done. I think that the landscape architect's report is adequate, and I'm prepared to make a motion to approve based on the conditions of approval I had mentioned previously. Thank you.
Just to clarify, you're looking at the best practices for tree preservation? Okay. So, I understand that we cannot deny this project just because of the trees. But we do have, we can set conditions to try to move this project along. Either, as Vice Chair Salo was talking about, with the best practices and site observations, and I believe they have observation for 2 years, and they need to keep those trees going for a 2-year period. With oak trees, with the existing oak trees, it is my understanding that they would need a permit to remove that tree. And with the permit to remove the tree, there could be subsequent issues. Either they plant a tree on site, or there's a payment, there's a fee. Currently, it's $400 to plant a Class 1 oak tree somewhere else in the city to, as a remediation for the tree that was lost. If something happens with the diseased tree. Because these are oak trees, I think both California law, the county, and the city of San Gabriel with its tree preservation ordinance, there are some protections there. That being said, I am very concerned with this project. I was the one who brought up the tree issue last month because I thought removal of 19 oak trees was a tough pill to swallow. And looking at the staff report and the tree inventory, there are several trees that are not worth saving because they are in poor health, but there are some trees that are in fairly good condition. I understand if there's a tree in the middle of the parcel, that's going to be hard to save because of the development. But I do think that tree number 13 could possibly be saved. Looking at the use of the site, if you have 13 units, 2 cars per unit going, you're gonna have maybe 50 trips up and down that driveway per day. Looking at what's around the city and trees and parkways, you have more than 50 cars driving up and down the street. I do think that tree number 13 could be saved, and I'd be okay if we were to add that as a condition to this project, in addition to the best practices for tree preservation and for site observation. So is there a motion? Yes.
One more thing, as I mentioned, the 3 small trees that are proposed to be saved are right in the middle of the walkway. I wonder if they can modify the little garden, private garden, so that there could be a walkway around the tree.
Thank you, that's excellent. So we now have the 3 different conditions to modify the walkway. So it goes around the trees. We want to use best practices for tree preservation and site observation, and retain tree number 13. So with that, can someone offer a motion, or we can discuss back and forth?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve this project with the suggested conditions of approval for planning case number PPD 22-008.
Second,
I second.
roll call?
Chair Romo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Salo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Hard no.
and Commissioner Tu.
Yes.
Okay, the vote is 3 yes, 1 no. Motion passed.
Thank you very, very much. This was a tough project because of the oak, and I think we all put a lot of consideration on this. It was a tough decision, and for you and for staff, as you're dealing with parcels that have oak trees, this is a tough thing. And when you're looking at bringing something forward, we may not be as easy next time, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next project is 417 is item B, 417 Hermosa Road, planning case number PPD 22-005, precise plan of design, applicant Michael Morcos. Marla.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Design Review Commission. The public hearing item before you tonight is for a precise plan of design to allow for the construction of 5 new accessory structures at the San Gabriel Country Club, located at 417 East Hermosa Drive, planning case number PPD 22-005. This item was continued from the April 24th, 2023 DRC meeting. I will provide a brief summary of the project before going into the changes and clarification that has been provided since the last meeting. Jackie, the clicker's not working, so thank you. The San Gabriel Country Club is comprised of 6 separate properties totaling approximately 106 acres. The proposed project is located at the southeast corner of one of those properties shown on the aerial here. This property is bound by Hermosa Drive to the south, California Street to the east, Country Club Drive to the west, and an additional Country Club property to the north. The project area in question serves as the existing maintenance facility for the Country Club, and you can see that at the lower right side there. Next slide, please. The project site, along with the surrounding properties, is zoned R1CC, or Single Family Residence Country Club. The R1CC zone establishes minimum lot widths and site areas of 100 feet and 14,520 square feet respectively, and provides no other development standards. For the purposes of this proposal, the project was reviewed for conformance with development standards in the R1 zone. Next slide, please. The proposed project involves the demolition of 2 maintenance buildings and material bins, remodeling of an existing building, and it also includes the removal of 10 parking spaces there shown on the west side of this diagram, which I will go into later in this presentation. Next slide, please. These are photographs of the existing buildings at the maintenance yard. Building 1, shown here, is being remodeled with no proposed expansion. Next slide, please. Building 2, shown here, will be demolished. Next slide. Building 3 here will also be demolished. Next slide. The material bins shown here will also be removed. However, they will be replaced in a different location. In addition to the remodeling of existing Building 1, the project also includes the construction of 5 new accessory structures, as shown here. Along Hermosa Drive, the existing gate will be replaced with an iron-framed gate with solid horizontal panels. A new 20-foot wide gate will also be installed west of the existing gate and feature the same design. Next slide. The size of the buildings ranges from 240 square feet to 2,240 square feet and will feature mechanic bays, garage parking for lawnmowers, storage for supplies and equipment, and parking for electric golf carts. Next slide. Each of the new buildings will be constructed of corrugated metal and painted in evergreen color with flat roofs, as can be seen here. I also have a material board that I can show. Next slide, please, Jackie. Building 1 will be remodeled, including the replacement of garage doors with anodized aluminum doors with clear glass panes. The windows will also be replaced to match the new garage doors. As previously stated, the project was reviewed for conformance with the development standards in the R1 zone. As shown in the development standard table seen here, the project meets or exceeds the zoning code with regard to lot coverage and FAR, building height, and setbacks. At the previous hearing, the Design Review Commission brought up concerns including the lack of a landscape plan, consideration for alternative fence and gate materials, the lack of color renderings and photo simulations, removal of staff parking at the maintenance yard, chemical and pesticide storage in Building 4, and the operation of the proposed gates. Since the last hearing, the applicant has provided a preliminary landscape plan which identifies the hedge at the southern end of the project site. The applicant proposes to increase the height of the vine hedge to 6 feet in areas where it is deficient to provide consistent screening along the perimeter of the property. The applicant also proposes to plant additional shrubs and ground cover materials. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to install Italian cypress trees along the southwest portions of Building 4 and 5 to limit visibility of the structures when the gate is open. The Commission previously expressed concerns over the use of chain link fencing in a residential area. While the project does not include the replacement of existing fencing in areas where the existing fence may need to be replaced due to damage, staff is recommending the added condition that replacement fencing shall be a black vinyl-coated chain link fence with privacy slats. The fence shall also be screened with a continued 6-foot-tall vine hedge that is consistent with the existing hedge. The applicant has provided color renderings and photo simulations of the proposed driveway gate and new buildings from across East Hermosa Drive. The simulations reflect the limited visibility of the new buildings above the line of the hedge and proposed gate. Next slide, please, Jackie. And one more. There's another simulation shown there. And one more. The applicant has also provided a section view on sheet A1.2 of the architectural plans reflecting the downward slope of the property. As can be seen on the section view, the southern face of existing Building 1, located closest to Hermosa Drive, is approximately 1 foot taller than the existing fence and hedge when being viewed from the street level. Parking for the St. Gabriel Country Club is located on the property directly to the south of the maintenance yard and has a total of 194 spaces. A parking plan for a previously approved project has been provided as attachment G to the staff report. The existing site plan identifies a total of 10 parking spaces in the maintenance yard area of the property. These spaces are in excess of the required 194. The maintenance yard is an ancillary use to the primary use of the country club and therefore does not require additional parking spaces. Additionally, the project does not propose to increase the operations of the country club or the square footage of employee areas. The proposed building will primarily be used for golf cart parking, mower parking, mechanic bays, and equipment storage. The 10 existing parking spaces will be replaced with 5 material bins, as shown on the site plan. Following the removal of the 10 parking spaces, maintenance staff will be directed to park at the main parking lot and will access the maintenance yard on foot or on a service vehicle via the route shown here. At the previous hearing, the DRC had questions about the types of chemicals that would be stored in the maintenance yard area. The applicant has provided a list of the types of chemicals that will be stored. These include fungicides, herbicides, growth regulators, and soil enrichment products. The San Gabriel Deputy Fire Marshal has reviewed the list of products that will be stored and has provided the added condition stating that buildings used for storage of hazardous materials need to comply with Chapter 50 of the California Fire Code. Permits from the Los Angeles County Health and Hazardous Materials Division and Public Works Department for the storage and handling of hazardous materials will also be required. Further, the San Gabriel Country Club is currently permitted to use and maintain restricted use products by the LA County Department of Agricultural Commissioner, Weights and Measures, and is subject to random inspections. Prior to the start of this project, the San Gabriel Country Club already stored and maintained these types of chemicals, and a permit for their storage has been obtained from Los Angeles County. As previously stated, the new driveway gates will be constructed of black wrought iron frames with solid wood panels for screening. The gates will be operated automatically and will remain closed. Staff has added the recommended condition that the gate shall close immediately after all vehicles have cleared the opening. Next slide, please. The general plan land use designation for the property is open space and public facilities. This designation lists golf courses, parks, and open space among its list of allowable uses. The project is also consistent with Community Facilities Goal 6.11, requiring privately held community facilities to develop in an orderly manner reflective of the community standards. This project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The project is exempt from CEQA per guidelines 15303, Class 3 for new construction. The item was renoticed at the project site, advertised in the October 12, 2023 edition of the San Gabriel Sun, and a notice was sent to all property owners and tenants within a 500-foot radius. Tonight's agenda was also posted at City Hall, the post office, and the public library. Finally, staff recommends that the Design Review Commission adopt a resolution of the Design Review Commission of the City of San Gabriel, California, approving planning case number PPD 22-005 for a precise plan of design for 5 new maintenance yard accessory structures at the San Gabriel Country Club, located at 417 East Hermosa Drive, subject to the recommended conditions of approval, with one modification to condition number 46B, stating that slurry can be considered an alternative to repaving along Hermosa Drive pending field verification by the Public Works Inspector. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. At this point, we go back to the commissioners to see if they have any clarifying questions for staff. Commissioner Tu?
No, I don't have question for staff. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Chair Sala?
No questions for staff.
Just one question. With the gate, would that be an automatic gate?
Yes, it will be automatic, and the condition again is to close immediately after all vehicles have cleared the opening.
So would they have the sensors underground or a remote? Do you know?
I don't know the exact mechanism to open the gate. I believe maybe the applicant can provide information regarding that.
I do think it is going to be vital that the gate is operable at all times, and it's closed as much as possible. We take pride in San Gabriel, and this is in the middle of one of the nicest neighborhoods in our city. The street is frequently traveled by different people, including yours truly, and I think it's something that we need to maintain respect for the neighborhood and make sure that's done. Another question is, as far as the hours of operation, I'm assuming during construction and the hours of operation and making noise with mechanical equipment, that is all going to remain where they have to comply with city noise ordinance starting at 7 a.m., is that correct?
Yeah, I believe a condition reiterating the construction hours has been included in the recommended conditions of approval.
All right, thank you. At this time, we go, I think that's all our questions. Ron, do you have anything? Okay. Is the applicant here?
Their team is here, yes.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Thank you for the opportunity to be before you this evening. I'm David Said. I'm a director at the club and happy to answer any questions. Staff presentation was very thorough, and we're excited to move forward with the project subject to your approval tonight.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Tu, do you have any questions for Mr. Saida?
No, I don't have questions. I just have a comment about the design. I think last time I was skeptical about the corrugated metal panel elevation, but when I see the rendering this time, although it has some kind of like discrepancy between the rendering color and the material board, but I do like the color and the texture we see in the material board. So yeah, I think there was a good visualization about the design, and I have yeah, I would like to I support the design now.
Thank you, thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Chair Salo?
Yeah, I have a minor question. On the site plan SP 1-0, there's a small area identified as an existing barbecue area. And there's a sub-note that existing area with portable barbecue tables and canopies, existing trimming, and I assume this area is for staff to use?
Yes, that's correct, our maintenance staff.
Okay, and so my question is, the canopies that are there now, are they higher than the height of the fence and landscape that's being proposed?
No, the idea is that really, I think, along Hermosa, as you look to the north, is about a 12-inch gap above the top of the fence to the top of the building, and that's the highest point.
Okay, so the canopy is not visible from the street?
No, and what we're really trying to do is repurpose that building one so that there's a nicer area inside for the guys and gals to take a break and to eat their lunch and, you know, socialize together in time off. So, yes, it will be completely inward facing and it won't be visible from outside.
Understand, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that I am appreciative of the country club coming back and being responsive to the questions and comments that we had when we last saw this project. Putting the additional landscaping, so there's that buffer when the gates open makes a difference, because this is a nice part of the community. And in reading the staff report, there are several landmark and historic trees that go back 200 years. You know, that's something to be considered, to take pride in, and to make sure we're putting our best foot forward. So I do want to congratulate the team there coming back and bringing this proposal to us to consider. I do want to just say that for the residents, looking at the noise ordinance and making sure that that is respected is going to be important moving forward. And want to see at this time, I think that's all the comments we have here. So it's time for comment from members of the public. Do we have any members of the public who want to speak on this item?
Madam Chair, we didn't receive any public comment for this item.
It is now 7:34. Time for public comment on this item is now closed. Since there's no, I don't think staff has any comments that they want to add to this. Okay. Then it's time for us to deliberate. We'll start with Commissioner Tu.
Yes, I think the design team has done a good job to improve the design since we last seen, and including the landscape design and also illustration of the building with the materiality. I think I'm ready to approve the project.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, thank you. I want to commend the applicants on their citizenship and coming back with a workable plan to what we saw last time. And I commend you. Thank you.
Vice Chair Sela?
I have nothing to add and ready to move forward. Yeah, I make a motion to approve PPD 22-005.
Second?
I second.
Roll call, please. I think public comment closed, correct?
Can I ask for clarification on 2 of the conditions of approval, or would that be inappropriate?
Okay. Then at this time, we will reopen the public hearing. It is now 7:37, and we will reopen the public hearing.
So just real quick, first of all, Marlon indicated a slight modification to condition of approval number 46, which we are comfortable with and appreciate that clarification. Secondarily, condition of approval number 27 talks to the various agencies responsible for permitting the storage and maintenance of the fertilizers and growth enhancements and things that we use to maintain the golf course. None of that is changing. Just wanted to make sure it's clear that the LA County Department of Agricultural Commission Weights and Measures is the issuing and body that does have jurisdiction over the permits at the CUPA, which we do have, and we will continue to maintain, but that's the appropriate jurisdiction for what we do to keep the grass green and keep the place maintained. So I just wanted to have that clarification, if that's possible. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, we are going to close the public hearing. It is now 7:39. So we have a first, we have a second, and we have roll call, please.
Commissioner Tu,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Salo,
Yes.
and Chair Romo.
Yes.
The vote is 4-0, motion passed.
on to our next item. Our next item is item C, 528 Segovia Avenue, planning case number SPR 22-093, site plan review.
Thank you, Chair. This item is a request for the approval of a site plan review to allow a new two-story single-family residence with a detached two-car garage located at 528 Segovia Avenue. The project site is located on the east side of Segovia Avenue, between Longden Drive to the north and West Roses Road to the south. This is an interior lot that is currently developed with a 1,372 square foot one-story single-family residence and a detached garage, which were built in 1938, which would both be demolished as part of this project. The property is zoned R1 for single-family residence and has a general plan land use designation of low-density residential. The proposed project complies with all of the R1 development standards in terms of lot coverage, FAR, building height, setbacks, and parking. The project is designed as an American cottage-style home with architectural elements taken from the single-story ranch-style home seen on this street. The project design has been reviewed by both staff and the city architect for consistency with the city's single-family residential design guidelines. Materials such as lap siding, stone-coated metal roofing material, louvered window shutters, eave soffits, and whitewashed tumbled brick for the chimney provide detailed facade elements that express the overall character of the home. Next slide, please. The applicant has provided a neighborhood analysis of a comparison of one-story versus two-story homes within a 300-foot radius. Out of the 48 total homes, there are 10 existing two-story homes, and 4 of them are on Segovia Avenue as shown on the map on the screen. The general plan land use designation for the site is low-density residential, which allows for single-family residential development, and the proposed project would meet community design goal 10.3 of the general plan. The project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. The proposed project is exempt per guideline 15303, class 3, as new construction of small structures. The public notice for this project was mailed out to property owners and tenants within a 500-foot radius, and the notice is posted at the project site, as shown in the photo. Agenda is posted at City Hall, Post Office, and the Public Library, and it was advertised in the San Gabriel Sun on October 12th, 2023. Staff recommends that the Design Review Commission adopt the resolution approving planning case number SPR 22-093 at 528 Segovia Avenue to allow the construction of the new two-story residence subject to the recommended conditions of approval. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much, Christine. At this time, I'm going to start on this side of the table, give you a little more time. Commissioner Lopez, do you have any questions for staff?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Chair Saylor?
No questions for staff.
Commissioner
Yes.
Kay?
My question is, just want to clarify, this is a completely tear down rebuild project?
Correct.
So pretty much the garage and the main house will be also demolished and rebuilt pretty much around the same footprint, right?
Generally speaking, it's similar.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I don't have any questions for staff. Is the applicant here?
Yes, they're present.
Good evening.
Hi, Chair Romo and Commissioners. Thanks for having us. My name is Ian Kaminsky. I'm the architect with Millard Design Build, representing the owners, Heather Nolan, and Eddie is watching virtually. Thanks for taking the time to review this project. It's been a lot of back and forth with staff and city architect Nestor and his input. Eddie and Heather actually started with another design team almost a year ago and worked with staff originally, came back with a bunch of comments that we have now incorporated with our team. And the drawings prepared before you are ones that I personally drew, so if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Eddie and Heather have lived at this house for 11 years and grew up in the surrounding neighborhoods and really love the neighborhood. And they bought the house before kids and pets were in the picture, and they're expecting their second child now, and really want to make this their permanent residence, and allowing them to do this project would ensure that. They own and operate a small business in San Gabriel, waste hauling, construction waste hauling business that services San Gabriel and the surrounding communities. So they're really entrenched in what goes on here and in the community, and really enjoy it and want to maintain it. So we've worked with them to kind of be as respectful as we can to the design guidelines, preserving the trees on the property and adjacent properties, and do the best we can, really. I'm just happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Before you sit down, we'll go around to see if we have questions. Commissioner Tu, do you want me to start over? Okay. Yeah. We're easy, sometimes. Commissioner Lopez,
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Sala, Vice Chair Sala.
Yeah, I actually don't have questions for the applicant. Thank you.
I'm going to give you a little bit more time. I do want to say that I think the project is very respectful to the community and to the existing house. It's nice. There's a rhythm and a balance to it. I walk around the neighborhood, and this is something that looks like it's been there for a while. My house was built in 1932, and I think this goes in that vein of respecting the style of what was built on that block and elevates it. And it's like for a woman putting on makeup and doing your hair. You know, you're elevated. It gives you a good sense, and that's what I'm going to say. And Commissioner Tu.
Thank you. Yes, so I am surprised to see the project actually have like protect all the trees in the sides versus the project we've been debating over the entire night. The developer took out all the trees. So yeah, I commenting on the applicant and designer to make the effort to actually to respect the house and elevate the design of the house and the neighborhood. I do have a question about the LED printer. Is that required?
For this size of construction project, there's a list of, I believe it's 5 or 6 measures that can be chosen from, and a minimum of 2 need to be implemented. And the flow-through planters that you see, one in the front and one near the off the driveway near the back, are following those guidelines for capturing rain from the roof and sizing it large enough so that it holds it and infiltrates enough before it then dumps it to the street. So that's where that's coming from.
Okay, I see. Because that is an important element in the front house. Because I mean, typically, those printer doesn't look really good because a lot of times it's just like a concrete box. I don't recall what I seen from your drawing because the tree is in front that kind of block the view of that printer.
Yeah, the tree definitely helps. But also in working with the landscape architect, there is a row of low boxwood shrubs in front of the wall of that raised planter, and then some plantings within the planter as well that are intentionally there to mask that wall.
What's the height of the printer? It's like 30 9 inches?
Yeah, I think it's 39 inches, yeah, which is, so it was all working backwards from the height of the curb at the street, because we're trying to avoid mechanical pumps to have a sump and pump it out there, so there's a minimum slope for the overflow that will go underground to the street curb, and then building up the height of the planter from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Chair Romo, we received one, and it's from an anonymous person.
Anonymous?
The neighbors would greatly appreciate being notified in advance of the demolition dates and any other extended periods of unusually loud noise or disruption so that we may plan accordingly. Thank you and good luck with the project. That's all.
And since the writer of that is anonymous, I don't know if we can think of anything creative, like a sign or maybe something on the Nextdoor app that you can notify people of regarding the construction, the neighbors. If we would know who this person is, then that would have been easier, but right now it's kind of casting a net. Do you have any resolutions for that? Kind of as a rebuttal?
I think we'll take that into consideration and do our best. Mariana, sitting next to Heather, is the owner of Millar Design Build and licensed general contractor. So between the three of us, I think those are the important people to hear that, and we'll do something about it.
And since we do have someone, I think it's a good idea for your neighbors to know that timeline. And it's, even though it's anonymous, there are things that could be done.
True.
Okay. Any other ones, Jackie? Anyone here? All right. So it is now 7:52, and the public comment period for this item is now closed. It is time for commission deliberation and discussion. With that, Commissioner Tu?
Yes, I do have one small suggestion for the raised LID printer. That is a large concrete surface right at front of the house in the front elevation. I wonder if the designer can work with the city architect to pick a color, some sort to play with the color scheme a little bit instead of leaving the raw concrete color for that big chunk of a mass in front of the house. That's my recommendation.
Commissioner Lopez?
I see my fellow commissioner's point. I agree, maybe a little sparkles on it. May look good even though the tree kind of blocks it, but I also want to commend the project is very detailed and the renditions are very realistic, which gives us a very good gives us context as to how it will look within the neighborhood and how it permeates its presence, and not to overshadow anything, but kind of blends in very nicely. And I appreciate that. It makes everybody's job a lot easier. And so that is all my comments. The sparkles.
Thank you. Vice Chair Sela?
It's a very well thought out project. I appreciate the applicant's effort. Just a side comment, I think this is the first house that we've seen that didn't have an ADU in maybe 3 years. No further comments, thank you.
I agree with the comments that have been made regarding this project, and want to see maybe if we can have a motion with the added condition that Commissioner Two suggested to paint the colored concrete planter in front of the house, and that would be in working with our city architect to refine that aspect. So with that, is there a motion to approve site plan review for case number SPR 22-093?
I motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Two,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
thank you. Vice Chair Salo,
Yes.
and Chair Romo.
Yes.
Okay, the vote is 4-0, motion carried.
Wonderful. Congratulations to you and to the welcome new baby. Welcome. All right. We move on to our next case, which is item D, 924 Euclid Avenue, planning case number SPR 22079, site plan review. Marlon.
Thank you. Members of the Design Review Commission, the public hearing item before you tonight is for a site plan review to allow for the construction of a second-story addition to an existing single-family home located at 924 Euclid Avenue, planning case number SPR 22-079. Next slide, please, Jackie. The subject property measures 7,599 square feet and is currently developed with a 675 square foot single-story, single-family home. The property is located on the east side of South Euclid Avenue, between East Grand Avenue to the north and East Fairview Avenue to the south. Next slide. The project site is zoned R1 for single-family residences and has single-family homes directly to the south, west, and east, and north as well. The project before you tonight includes a first and second story addition and a garage conversion, as well as a new 424 square foot garage and 620 square foot ADU in the rear yard. The single family home with the proposed additions and garage conversion will measure a total of 2,245 square feet. 1,543 square feet of that will be on the ground floor and 702 square feet on the second floor. The proposed addition is consistent with the development standards set forth in municipal code for the R1 zone, including building height, second-story setbacks, lot coverage, and FAR. The existing side yard setback along the north side of the property is inconsistent with current setback requirements in the R1 zone. The existing square footage, however, is consistent with public records, indicating that there's no unpermitted construction, and therefore the deficient side yard setback is determined to be non-conforming and can remain. Additionally, the FAR and lot coverage calculations shown on this table did not include the 620 square foot ADU, as section 153.047D of the San Gabriel Municipal Code states that only the area in excess of 800 square feet shall be counted. The architectural design of the home was reviewed by city staff and the city architect for consistency with the design guidelines for single-family residences. The proposed redesign exhibits features of a contemporary style home featuring white mission finish stucco, bronze millguard windows, and fascia and trim painted in a monarch migration color. The main entry will feature a new covered porch, and the existing door will be replaced with a horizontal paneled mahogany door. The area above the main door will feature a clear story window for additional fenestration along the front facade. The existing hip roof form will be changed to a 512 slope gable roof, which will also be reflected on the new second story. The garage door will be removed and replaced with 3 vertical windows to the right of the door. The front yard of the project site is currently landscaped with a lawn and driveway leading to the attached garage. The project proposes to enhance the front yard by planting a new olive tree and a new ficus tree, each 24-inch box in size. The driveway will be relocated to the southern edge of the property to provide access to the rear yard where the new detached garage will be located. A new 42-inch walkway consisting of permeable pavers will also be installed directly adjacent to the new driveway, leading from sidewalk to the front door. The inner side of the proposed walkway will be lined with emu bushes. The new planters will also be installed on either side of the entryway, each measuring 2 feet in width, and will be planted with a combination of white sage, agave, roses, lemon balm, parsley, and Japanese anemone. In the rear yard of the property, a Chinese elm is proposed to be removed and replaced with a gravel area and driveway. The north and east perimeter of the property in the rear yard will be lined with a planter featuring 7 new podocarpus trees, evenly distributed throughout the planter area. Staff is recommending the added condition that the gravel area be reduced and enhanced with live vegetative growth and usable open space. Next slide, please, Jackie. Section 153.353 of the San Gabriel Municipal Code requires the submittal of a neighborhood analysis of homes within a 300-foot radius around the project site. The analysis shall identify 1- and 2-story homes in the neighborhood. The neighborhood analysis identifies 13 properties with 2-story single-family residences within a 300-foot radius. The proposed project was also reviewed for consistency with the general plan. The general plan land use designation for the subject property is low-density residential. The general plan defines this designation as primarily single-family homes on a single parcel. The proposed project is for the construction of a new second-story addition to an existing single-family residence and is consistent with the general plan land use designation. The project also meets Community Design Goal 10.3 to create designs that live and breathe with San Gabriel's neighborhoods as they themselves live and breathe. Next slide, please. The project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act and was determined to be exempt per guidelines section 15303, class 3 for new construction. On October 12, 2023, a notice regarding the project was sent to properties within a 300-foot radius of the project site. A notice was also posted on the project site. Tonight's meeting agenda was posted at City Hall, the Post Office, and the Public Library, and was advertised on October 12, 2023 edition of the San Gabriel Sun. With that, staff recommends that the Design Review Commission adopt a resolution of the Design Review Commission approving planning case number SPR 22-079 for a second-story addition to an existing single-family residence at 924 Euclid Avenue, subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Thank you, Marlon. I'm going to ask the commissioners if they have any clarifying questions for staff. Commissioner Tu?
No question for staff. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yeah, just a question on the north side setback. Are we looking at 17 feet 4 inches, 7 feet 4 above the second story?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
The north side setback.
Mm-hmm.
It says the second floor is 17 feet 4 inches, and the requirement was 10 feet.
Yeah, the requirement, so for second-story additions, there are 2 options for meeting the second-story setback, which is to provide 10 feet on either side, or to meet what's called an angle plane of 45 degrees. They chose to meet the 10 feet. Along the north side setback, they exceed that requirement.
I beg your pardon. Can you run that by me one more time, please?
Yeah, so the requirement that they're meeting is the 10-foot setback from both sides of the second story. This doesn't apply to the ground floor, only the second story. Along the north side, the proposed setback for the second story would be 17 feet and 4 inches.
Okay, you're saying that meets the 10-foot requirement for the second floor?
It exceeds it, yes. It's 17 feet. What they're showing is 17 feet. The requirement is for 10.
Okay, I got you. I apologize. I got confused. All right.
We're all learning here.
Thank you. That was my question.
Vice Chair Sela?
No questions for staff.
No questions. Thank you. The applicant here?
The applicant is here, yes.
The green button.
Oh, you don't have to.
Good Good evening, Chairwoman and committees. I'm the owner representative, and also just wanted to appreciative of Ron, Nestor, and Marlon for working with us on this project. I'm willing to answer any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Tu, do you have questions for the applicant?
I have one question regarding it seems like there's a split story in the second floor of the house. Is that true? Like, you have a couple step walking up to the bedroom in the back.
That's correct.
What was the reason for that?
Basically, well, you're talking about like outside, right?
Interior too, because I see this high difference in the front of the property to the back, but I was wondering why there's a high, pretty much is you have two different floor level in the front and in the back. And there's two steps between the front bedroom to the bathroom area.
Yeah, so I think it's just basically the elevation of the difference, and we're trying to make that steps over.
Okay, I see. So pretty much the front of the house has 8-foot top the plate, but the back of the house has 9-foot top the plate because
Yeah.
of that steps.
That's correct. Yeah, owner insists of making the tall ceiling, so basically we like to keep it that elevation.
Okay, so pretty much the great room area has 9-foot ceiling instead of 8, like
Yes.
the front.
That's correct. Yeah, she wants to keep it at a high ceiling, so that's her preference.
Okay, all right, thank you. No other questions.
Commissioner Lopez?
None, thank you.
Vice Chair Salo?
I just have a couple of comments. One, I think that the second story portion being in the middle of the lot furthest away from the neighbors is probably a good thing. But the front elevation, not my favorite, but it's fine. I will say that the color and material board is very helpful because I think that the renderings are a little bit stark in contrast. They don't really show the materials and colors well, but the color and material board looks adequate.
Yes, thank you.
Before I make it my comments, Ron, do you have something to add on this?
Well, this project started out really bad, and it's come a long way. So I applaud that you've made these changes. I had suggested to modify the second floors and the windows so that the symmetry is a little bit offset by these asymmetrical elements. But I did caution that the board may still consider that front elevation too monumentally symmetrical. So I wanted to throw that to the board.
Thank you for your comments. This is a project that I'm not an architect. I've been a resident of San Gabriel, property owner for 33 years now. But this architectural style, I think, does not fit in within the community, nor within the various types of homes within the area. I think if you're looking at other communities, and over the weekend, I was in Chino Hills, and they had homes with, you could tell, the ceiling height was extremely high. There were 2, 3-level homes with high ceilings, and I think this type of home design would fit in that type of neighborhood. Here in San Gabriel, I don't think that fit is quite there. And I do think that the back has more rhythm and balance to it than the front of the house. I like the back. The back of the house looks really good, but that's not what the community is going to be seeing. The community is going to be seeing the asymmetrical front and the very high roof line. And that's a concern for me.
May I add something really quick? So I guess the reason that the owner went this route is obviously some, costs associated as well. At first, the primary home in front was pretty much a single family home, which is now, we're trying to basically create value of adding additionals to the back of that primary front home. So by doing so, to meet that demand, along with her preference, is that she wants a high ceiling, and therefore that back house is basically higher.
And I think there are different ways to accomplish that. To me, the front of this house isn't quite there yet. But I think that's when we deliberate and talk about this, you'll be hearing our comments. You'll be able to see where we stand. We don't talk about this project before coming here tonight with one another. That's actually against the California Brown Act. So we don't know how we're going to feel about the project until we come here, we listen to the staff presentation, and we listen to the applicant. And as I was mentioned earlier, this is for us to learn and try to come up with a good solution for the city of San Gabriel.
Absolutely.
Okay. It is now time to see if there's any public comment on this item. Jackie?
We did not receive any public comment.
Okay. Right. That being the case, it is now 8:11, and the public comment of the public hearing is now closed. Staff, do you have any comments? Any additional comments for us? Okay. Then it is our time to deliberate and discuss this project. Commissioner Tu, I'd like to start with you.
Yes. I think the applicant emphasized that adding second story, creating all those living spaces, we don't have problem with that, but I mean, there's different ways of doing it. I think the second story being set back is a good thing, that you don't impose into the front of the building to the street front. But I think the way the design put together with this the front part of the house is kind of confusing, because first of all, it's overwhelmingly high, and it doesn't really fit into the neighborhood, as Chair Romo mentioned. Because if you look at the picture of all the neighbors' house, they're pretty modest. And this one has really high roof in the front. I kind of sense that you're trying to do like a mid-century home here, but if you get rid of the second story, there can be a really nice design. But you have a really like overwhelming kind of mid-century roof line, but with a second story, more complicated mass in the back. So it's confusing to me. Looking at the building, I don't know, I don't think the ADU is part of the review, but I see you have those clear story windows. And also in the back of the house, you also have those clear story windows, which is nice. You bring a lot of light and have a high ceiling to the great room area. I just sense that it's not clear to me. The design is not clear. You either have a really clean design to use those mid-century languages, or you create something to work with your second story addition. So now the front is overwhelmingly high, and also with the color I don't know if it's because of the image that presented, it's different from the material wall. And, but speaking of that, it's also a bit out of the praise from the neighborhood. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. I look at this home and it seems something I would expect to see in northern Glendale, northern Burbank, somewhere up in the higher foothills. You can see those types of homes, so that type of similar architecture. I don't believe it really, based on what all of the other houses are within the 300 foot radius, I don't think it blends in. I think this would be amongst kids would say, well, remember that house down the street, and they would name, whatever name they would put to it as a reference point. Yeah, maybe the front can or I don't know, maybe maybe it's the colors or it's just maybe change the roofing pitch. I understand you want to keep the height, and I don't think anybody's opposed to that. But maybe if I don't know, you may have to go back to the drawing board. I don't know. I don't feel it blends in with what San Gabriel is in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Sela?
Yeah, just as I mentioned previously, the front elevation, not my favorite. I think it's way too symmetrical. I think monumentally symmetrical is a good way to put it. It's trying to be something very formal, and it makes everything else look a little awkward. Those are my comments. Yeah.
Yes.
So I could offer some suggestions. You could try maybe lowering the pitch of the roof to see what that looks like, or to change that front roof from a side to side to a front to rear shape to bring the eave down low over the entrance.
So, I think when you're looking at bringing a new type of home design into a neighborhood that is not in existence, I think you have to shoot for the moon and present something that's going to be phenomenal. When you're bringing a type of design like this, this is tough. This is tough for us to look at. My question to you and to Ron, sometimes we say, yeah, you two figure it out and we will approve the project. My concern at this time is that we have heard tonight that you have already been working with the architect, and even with working with the architect, the project was not good before, and now we have this. So if we turn it back to the architect, that might be a lot of responsibility for just one person without the muscle of the design commission. The design commission before didn't review residential projects that were building second stories. And these city ordinance change, so we have members of the community voicing what would be best, what in their opinion for the community. So there's an onus on us bring something good to the community. We will talk about it and see where we want to go. But I don't know if this will be approved tonight, or if it will, we'll deny it or continue it. So we'll discuss it, and you'll find out in a few minutes.
Absolutely, thank you.
So, I'm going to call everyone individually to see if they would, how they suggest we proceed with this item. Commissioner Tu, we'll start with you. Would you like to continue? Or turn it over to Ron, or just vote no? We have, I guess those are our three options tonight.
I would lean towards to continue the project, because I think the design team has some work to do to actually to work on the front. As everybody was saying, the symmetry, the symmetrical design, and also the volume of the front house is a bit overwhelming. And yeah, I would like to propose that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
I sense from the owner that you're a willingness to kind of work out and do things. You've heard our concerns as to what we don't want to tell you or give you a certain type of design. That's not our thing, but if our architect is willing, and I propose that if the owner is willing to, but to empower our architect to kind of be our advocate for our vision of what we may deem more in tune with the neighborhood, and so that he has a certain directive as to where he would want to guide it, and can say to the owner, yes, no, I don't think they'll approve this, or yes, I think they may approve this, or definitely yes. If that's possible, then I would like to perhaps continue it, because I know you want your house, and I know you want your second story, and I think that way everybody kind of is happy if our architect's willing to do that. But if we provide him with not only the empowerment, but also with the vision of kind of what we see. And I know he has a pretty good idea, and probably better than us, but of this board composition, the vision this board has. So I would be willing to kind of kick the can down the road, so that the owner and the architect can convene and come out with a different plan, and then we can look at that.
So, under that condition, what you're proposing, would that come back to?
Yes, to come back.
Okay,
Yes.
so it would be to continue.
Yeah, not an approval, but just a continue.
To continue. Okay. Vice Chair Sela?
Yeah, I would prefer to continue the project and give the applicant an opportunity to address the concerns of the commission.
I think that is probably the best thing that we can do for this project. I think both Ron and Commissioner Tu have articulated where we're going, what direction. It's tough for us to redesign the project from just here within a few minutes, but Ron knows what direction, and that front elevation is a great concern, and looking at balancing the second story, dealing with the current asymmetrical design, because you want some rhythm. The application before, you saw it was a two-story project, but it fit within the community. It fit within the house that was there before, and rebuilding the house that's there now with two-story probably isn't the best solution for this site, but you want something that's going to fit the neighborhood and enhance it. So, with that, if I can get a motion to continue this item to a date uncertain. I don't want to have you do all of this work rush in a month, but let's go to a date uncertain. That gives you time to work with the city architect to come back to this commission. So if I can get a motion to continue this item to a date uncertain.
I motion to continue this item to a date uncertain.
Is there a second?
I second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Tu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Salo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
and Chair Romo.
Yes,
Okay, the vote is 4-0. Motion carried.
thank you. This
Thank you.
item will be continued. Thank you very much. Good luck. So that brings us to the last public hearing of this evening, which is item E, which is 1975 through 1985 South Del Mar Avenue, 116 Glendon Way, planning case number PPD 23-003, precise plan of design. And Christine, we're here again.
Thank you, Chair. This item is a request for the approval of a precise plan of design to allow the development of a new 5-story mixed-use development at 1975 to 1985 South Del Mar Avenue and 116 Glendon Way. Next slide, please. The project site is located on the west side of Del Mar Avenue between West Glendon Way to the north and West Saxon Avenue to the south. The site consists of 3 parcels totaling 40,880 square feet and is currently developed with automotive repair shops on 2 of the parcels and a residential duplex on the 3rd parcel, which are all proposed to be demolished for the project. The property is zoned MUCR for mixed-use corridor residential within the Valley Boulevard specific plan area and has a general plan land use designation of commercial specific plan. This is an image of the proposed site plan, which shows the 3 individual parcels combined and the layout of the proposed live-work units, the 2 commercial spaces, and commercial parking area. The project consists of 13,127 square feet of commercial lease space, 4 live-work units, and 94 residential units on the upper floors with 8 very low-income affordable units. There's a total of 195 parking spaces that'll be provided at grade and in the 2 subterranean levels. The proposed project complies with the development standards for the MUCR zone in terms of commercial FAR, setbacks, parking, and open space. However, the project has requested 2 concessions for the total FAR and the number of stories as permitted by the state density bonus law in exchange for providing 10% affordable housing units. This request was approved through an affordable housing agreement by the Planning Commission at the September 11th meeting last month. Next slide, please. The state density bonus law allows up to 2 development concessions or incentives when a project provides 10% affordable units at the very low income level. The proposed project is proposing a total of 94 units, with 86 of them being sold at market rate and 8 of them would be rented out to eligible very low income individuals and households. In requesting concessions, the developer must cite identifiable cost reductions for providing the affordable housing units. The applicant provided a detailed project description and concession letter, which was provided to the Planning Commission, and the 2 incentives requested were for increased FAR above the maximum allowed and an increase in the maximum number of stories. Next slide, please. The project was approved by the Planning Commission on September 11th, 2023. They approved the proposed tentative track map number 84066 and the Affordable Housing Agreement with a 4-0 vote. The project is designed in a contemporary architectural style with a well-articulated corner element, which provides visual interest along with the modulation of the street facades. Building materials include stucco, brick veneer, concrete finishes, metal accents, and vinyl windows and doors. Staff, the city architect, and the city landscape architect have reviewed the proposed project several times to ensure that the project is consistent with the city's commercial design guidelines. Next slide, please. The general plan allows for mixed-use developments in the commercial specific plan area. The proposed project would meet land use goals 1.5 and 1.9, housing goals 2.1 and 2.2, mobility goal 3.7, economic development goals 4.1 and 4.2, as well as community design goals 10.1 and 10.4. The project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. This project is exempt from CEQA per guideline section 15332, class 32 as an infill development, and technical studies relating to traffic, air quality, greenhouse gases, and noise were prepared by Kimberly Horn, and it was concluded that the project would meet the conditions necessary for the exemption. Public notice for the project was mailed out to all property owners and tenants within the 500-foot radius. A notice was posted at the project site. Agendas are posted at City Hall, Post Office, and Public Library, and advertised in the San Gabriel Sun on October 12, 2023. With that, staff recommends that the Design Review Commission adopt a resolution approving planning case number PPD 23-003 at 1975 to 1985 South Delmar Avenue and 116 Glendon Way to allow for the new 5-story mixed-use development, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Great. We will start with any clarifying questions to staff by our commissioners. Commissioner Tu, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have questions for staff. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
No questions for staff, thank you.
Vice Chair Sela?
Yeah, the 4 live-work units on Glendon Way, can they be retail?
Yes, that is one of the uses that's allowed.
My question for staff is regarding loading for this site. I believe there's not a requirement to have designated loading areas.
Correct.
Can you clarify how that would work on this project?
Sure. I believe the applicant can probably elaborate on the overall project design for that, but the code doesn't require a dedicated loading zone for this project. And so in lieu of that, the applicant has designed for, I guess, a thickened concrete along the ground floor near the vehicular path to accommodate for slightly larger trucks for deliveries. And on top of that, I believe when it comes to trash collection, they worked with the local trash provider, and they confirmed, I guess, that they use smaller scout trucks for trash collection at the site.
Thank you. The applicant's here?
Yes, the applicant is present.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you so much for having me. My name is John Kelly. I'm representing the client, and I'm also representing Tyler Kelly Architecture. I'm a principal at Tyler Kelly Architecture. Behind me is Ed Sirabodi. He's our landscape architect. So if you have any landscape architect questions, please, I'll defer to him. And the client is 2 rows behind him. Christine, thank you so much for working with us the last couple of months. And Ron as well. It was very nice having you on board to work with us as well. We just go now. Subsequent to that, or after that, we had our Planning Commission preliminary consultation, and we did our community outreach on October 6th, which was met quite well. The images to the right are from that. The consulting engineers were onboarded in December, and we submitted our precise plan of design early next year. We had our Caltrans traffic study. We did our CEQA review, which was completed in August. Last month, we had our Planning Commission hearing, and then today we're here with our precise plan and design. What I was planning on doing today, I know it's a little late, but we'll go quick. I was just going to go through some slides that you've seen before last year. They describe our design logic and rationale for some of our decisions, and then I was going to go through some things that you haven't seen yet. So this is the site. It's on Delmar Avenue and West Glendon Way. It's in the VBSP MUCR specific plan. To the west of it is the R2 zone, and across the street on Delmar is an R3 zone. Next. And next. In terms of plan development, next please. We have a 15-foot required rear setback. Next. We have required 5-foot street dedications and 3-foot street dedications on Glendon Way and Delmar respectively. We have a 25-foot corner chamfer requirement, and we have 15-foot side yard. Those are actually not required, but those are part of our open space that we're using for it. We decided it would be a good idea to push this big building away from some of the R2. So that leaves us with the buildable area seen in gray. In terms of how we use that space, on the upper floors, we took a 66-foot wide double-loaded corridor and we wrapped it in kind of an upside-down J shape. On the first floor, next. That leaves us with a core that we placed in the corner on the northeast corner. We placed the driveways to access the site a little over 120 feet away from the corner, with in and out access on West Glendon Way and out access only on Delmar Avenue. In terms of the program for the ground floor, we situated our anchor commercial on the corner with our secondary commercial flanking it. In the rear, we have some residential opportunity as well. So that translates to a restaurant in the corner with some live works on the north, and the townhouses on the southwest, and then a bank on the south. This is how the plans, or what the plans evolved into from that. With the driveway again, the lobby again, the restaurant and the live works, and then the townhouses, and the bank. The open space is demarcated there at 10.2%. And our unit matrix comes out to that. We have about 25 units per floor on our typical floors. We have a little less on the second floor, and a little bit less also on the top floor as well. That leaves us with 94 units total, 8 of which are affordable. In terms of, oh, it's fine, here. In terms of plan development, again, on the ground floor, we did get comment from Christine and from Ron with regard to loading for the site. As Christine mentioned, loading is not a requirement for the site. However, we do want to make sure that we accommodate it. So we worked with Public Works to ensure that there was a diagram that could accommodate for 30-foot box trucks. So you're seeing right there the kind of the standard FedEx or Amazon truck at 30 feet long, and then you're also seeing the U-Haul truck, which is the 3 to 4 bedroom house U-Haul. We worked with our structural engineer to make sure that the concrete is being reinforced to accommodate trucks of that scale. Next, please. Also, a little bit smaller than that, though, are the standard service truck at 23 feet and the standard scout truck at about 23 feet. Other levels, we have the lower level 1, and lower level 2 is similar. We have resident parking with its core. We have visitor parking with its core. There are gates separating the two for security reasons. That's the parking count and how it's broken down, which, as Christine mentioned, totals to 195 spaces. On the second floor, we have a 1,550 square foot amenity space and about a 4,400 square foot outdoor amenity. For privacy reasons, we actually sunk down that amenity and that outdoor amenity down about 3 feet so that it's not like somebody is on the outdoor amenity looking into a private residence. We also conducted some shade studies when we were working on this months ago. We received a commissioner comment about the shadow and shade in the courtyard on the second floor. So next slide. What is indicated in that red box there is what we would envision when that courtyard would be really actively used. So that would be, the early afternoon, 12, 3, 4, in the spring, summer, and fall seasons of the year. In terms of exterior character, next slide. We sort of coined this that they're helping to redefine the gateway to the Valley Boulevard specific plan. So as you're driving north on Del Mar, this is one of the first sites that you'll see as you get into the VBSP. Next slide. And this is what you'll see, a series of mostly one-story buildings, but there are some two-story buildings, and I think the one across the street might be a three-story. I think actually it might be two-story. Next slide. And if you could squint and utilize the massing that the VBSP allows, which is 67 feet, you could envision that there could be, three-story, four-story, and five-story buildings coming up along this corridor, which would really connect you to Valley Boulevard to the north. And so that's what we were sort of envisioning. It is a big building, but we think it's a building that will fit in quite well with the specific plan that the city envisions. In terms of exterior character and our design, we spent many months with the client to go over some of the intentions for the site and what they wanted the site to look like. We looked at some contemporary gestures, we looked at some traditional gestures, we looked at some big monumental masses, we looked at some broken up masses, emphasizing the first floor, articulating a tripartite design. We went through a lot of different iterations with the client. Ultimately, we came upon the design that's rendered in the next slide. So this is a view from the southeast looking northwest. So as you're driving north on Del Mar or potentially as you're exiting the freeway, this is the view that you'd see. Next slide. This is the view from the northeast looking southwest. So as you're driving south on Del Mar, this emphasizes the sort of the cornerstone, if you will, of the building and emphasizes the entry for the residences as well. Next. This is a view of the courtyard looking southwest, this taken at dusk. Next slide. And this is a view of the courtyard from the northeast. Next slide. These are two views of the side yards. I think they're about 10 feet or a little more, sorry, they're about 15 feet or so of separation between the building and the property line. Next. And then in terms of collaboration with the city, we worked with Ron during our precise plan of design submittals. Some examples of collaboration that we worked on with him were material variation on secondary elevations, recessed storefront fenestration, solid void relationships on secondary elevations, cornice proportion and hierarchy, material palette reviews, exterior detailing reviews, and exterior lighting. We also worked with the city's consulting landscape architect. Next slide. And we work with them on the addition of streetscape amenities, landscape and hardscape proportions, species specification, drought tolerant spacing, and then shade tree efficacy, the proportion of evergreen or deciduous trees, and any surrounding sustainable practices as well. Collaboration with consultants. We worked with Ed behind me, the landscape designer, an exterior lighting consultants. We worked with MEP, structural, interiors, and then some additional consultants as required. We have some dry utilities, fire protection, as well as a couple of others. In terms of the landscape design, so on the Del Mar and Glendale streetscapes, this is where I have to skip to my notes, sorry. So we're using the pink trumpet tree that's featured on the top right. We also have some opportunities for seating as well. Next slide. Oh, sorry, that's where they are. On the side yards, We're using crepe myrtle and sweet shade trees. Next slide. Beech shade there. On the second floor courtyard, we're using the pink trumpet and palo verde trees. Next slide. Right there. And then we also worked with that lighting consultants, so they illuminated the landscape that Ed put together. They're using some architectural series uplights for landscape, and then they're using an LED recessed light wall. It's about 7 inches by 3 inches. Next slide. There. Next slide. With regard to lighting design on the streetscape, we're using these sconces. They're about 28 inches by 5 inches. Next. We are also illuminating the awnings from underneath so that they would illuminate the underside of the awnings. Next slide. Just one back. Thank you. We're using the strip lighting LEDs, again, to uplight, not downlight, uplight the awnings or the cornices that are on the 4th floor and the 5th floor. Next slide. And then we're also emphasizing the vehicular entry that's on the north with a series of baffles in the ceiling and then some not strip lighting necessarily, but just some recessed downlighting or downlighting, linear downlighting. There we go. Next slide. That would look something like this. We have a different vision for what we were thinking, but we'll get there with maybe getting a better rendering out there. Next slide. With regard to mechanical design, the rooftop equipment is condition 17 to make sure that it's properly screened, but we thought it would be good to show you that we were thinking about this already. Next slide. So our solar array would be in the green locations. We have condensers and fans that are located basically on the spine of the building, basically as far away from the building perimeter as possible. They need to be proximal to the unit, so we can't, cluster them all in one spot. We have to sort of line them up down the building as we go. Next slide. And for the most part, those condensers are small enough, and the solar array is small enough to be concealed by the parapet that's surrounding the entire building. Next slide. We do have locations where we do have big units. These are fans that are coming up from the garage, from the restaurant, from the bank, as well as a couple of the other locations. So in some of those locations, next slide, we do have larger masses that will screen those things from view. So the topmost corner, that parapet is 6'8", so that completely screens that piece of equipment. The 2 middle ones that are flanked by larger masses. The mass on the left is the elevator overrun, so that's completely screened on the west, and on the east, that's 48 inches tall. Similar goes to the other ones; those are about 48 inches tall too. So we're attempting to screen these as best we can. There are 2 that are not screened just yet. Those are the ones that are on the north bar in the middle. If you go to the next slide. We've looked at the locations of these. So this shows the sectionette roof on the top left. And if you were to take that angle and extrapolate it with the building now being, if you look at the bottom left, the building now being the mast that's on the left-hand side, you can see that you won't see that until you're about 409 feet away from the building. So while we can screen these things, we just wanted to show you that it's not something that's going to be visible until you're well past the site. Next slide. And that's at Marshall. You'll start to see it at Marshall. We also looked at interior design, or starting to look at interior design. We had one good opportunity that's right out of the amenity court on the 2nd floor. We have a residential amenity. So in that, we have some soft seating. We have a nice kitchen there, some booth seating, and then as you go further west, we have some breakout rooms and a conference room. Opportunities for residents to relax and hang out and maybe do some work, socialize, get a bite to eat, make some food, and then they could also go out to the courtyard and enjoy the amenities there. And that's it. We looked at the conditions that staff put forward. we don't take any objection to any of the conditions.
Thank you so much. Now it's our turn to ask you questions.
Please.
Commissioner Tu?
Yes, yes, really impressive design. Congratulations. So it's really well thought through. I just have one question. You mentioned the secondary commercial on the ground floor. Were you saying those the lit workspaces?
Yes.
So what kind of tenants or what kind of use you guys are envisioning?
I don't have any usage yet, but I mean, we were envisioning, I think when we were putting signage up there for graphic purposes, I think one of them was like a candle shop, and one of them we had our logo up there. So it's up to, whoever wants to get the spaces.
Okay, so generally it's still like retail, commercial type of use, right?
It can be, yeah, on the first floor. Yeah.
I see. Because it says lit work, I thought it would be like also kind of like also has residential use in it.
The residential usage is on the mezzanine floor, so it's just above it.
Okay, all right, thank you. I don't have other questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
No questions. Thank you.
Vice Chair Saba?
I don't have any questions for the applicant. It's very nice, well thought out project, and thank you for your effort.
Thank you.
I do have a couple of questions. First of all, you mentioned the tenancies and how you kind of put some names there, like East West Bank and True Foods. Those are your aspirations?
Those are our aspirations,
Okay.
yeah, and we don't have any control
That's
over.
good.
who-
Wow.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay. On your side yards, it looks like predominantly that's going to be private space. Is that correct?
The side yards aren't private space. They're not designated for private space. They are open to the residents.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no intent for them to be open as a short circuit for public, though. If that's your follow up.
Right. Yeah. Because I noticed there were gates at certain areas
Yeah.
and stuff.
There will be
so-
gates. Yeah.
So, so I'm looking at this project as I would visit it, because I already have a place in San Gabriel, so how would I relate as a pedestrian to this project and driving by it? One thing I think that there needs to be are pedestrian signage from the inside, kind of your wayfinding. You'll have your vehicular wayfinding, but I think it's important for pedestrians. For me, when I'm inside a building, I lose my sense of direction. Where's north, where's south, so I'm looking for visual clues on how to get me to where I need to go and how to get back to my car. So I think that's going to be important. And also pedestrian amenities. I see you have 3 trees on Del Mar, and I know there are Caltrans constraints to have additional trees going closer to that freeway. But I think that gives you that opportunity to put planters and other things along the sidewalk to just soften up that front. I think you do a good job with your rooftop, the kind of your upper balconies with the greenery, assuming, yeah, if that's going to be you or your aspirational residents that are going to be living there, but at least with the lighting and other things, it looks like you're softening it up. And one of the things with the first project we saw with their rooftop open space, they built things into planters, and I think when you're looking at spaces like that, if you were to build space that could be green, so it's an aesthetic for people on the outside, looking at the project, and I think that's where you elevate the project and it becomes an asset to the community. Yeah, that's it. I got all my points down. But overall, I think it's a nice-looking project. Glendon, that entry point to Glendon is nice. Your landscaping on your side yards, when you're looking at the residents, you have trees that'll provide some privacy for those people living there. All in all, I think you've done a good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ron, do you have any other comments?
Just one, first of all, the narrow side yards, they do provide access to townhomes, so that's the
Right.
front door, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing, in those narrow side yards, there's a linear planter along the wall, the common wall, and you have trees in that planter, but this is all on structure, so I just wonder how large will those trees get?
That one I might have to defer. I know that Ed and I worked with the planter depths, and I believe that the trees that we planted there are meeting or exceeding the planter depth required for trees of that nature. I believe that Ed had to redesign per one of the city landscape architect's comments to accommodate for those trees. So I think it's 24 inches in some locations and 36-inch box trees in other locations.
Right, but I'm also concerned about the narrowness of the planter, and will it be able to sustain the roots, because the trees illustrated were pretty big. I just
Yeah,
wonder.
yeah.
That's all.
Do you know off the top of your head, yes or no?
Yeah, we chose the trees that,
Yeah.
chose the tree that will fit best in those planter. Realize your concern. It's so narrow, but we trying to gain the depths for those planters. And we use the trees because the city's requirements was required quite a bit of trees to screen against the residential areas. So we use the appropriate trees, and city landscape architects has approved that concept.
Okay, very good. Well, they've been very responsive, and we work together very well, so I'm very pleased with the project.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Right now, we are working with our dry utilities consultant and our electrical engineer. We've located on the B1 level. It's on the northwest corner with the electrical room right below it.
So it's not above grade, it's underground?
We're proposing it as below ground. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So at this point, it's the time to see if we have any comments from the public, and yes, we do. Jackie?
Yes, we received 3, 2 by email and 1 in person. The first one is from Deborah, and she stated, "This comment is for a proposed mixed-use condominium subdivision at 1975 to 1985 South Delmar Avenue and 116 Glendon Way. As a local resident, this proposed property should not be allowed, for this will lead to increased traffic and congestion. This subject property is close to the intersection of Delmar and Valley, which is already a very busy and congested area. There are already many more large commercial and residential structures close to the intersection. Therefore, this proposed project will make the traffic in our neighborhood even worse. In addition, this proposed project will limit the number of available parking spaces currently allocated for community residents who are living close to the subject property." The second comment is from Sina, that's S as in Sam, I, and Nancy A. "By building these many condos and mixed with commercial space for such a small area, this will cause a lot of traffic. In addition, it will lower the property value for the city. It's overcrowded." Third one is a speaker card we received from Neil Torrance, a resident on Marshall Street. Is Mr. Torrance still around? I believe he may have left already and didn't say anything here marked whether it's for or against the project.
And he's not here. Okay. With that, it is is time to close public comment. It is 8:59, and the public hearing is now closed. It's time for the commissioners to deliberate on this project. We'll start with Commissioner Chu.
I think in responding the public comments regarding the parking, and I see the project actually provide sufficient parking as required, didn't like have any incentive to reduce parking. So I thought a lot of those projects that has density bonuses, they would also, in order to get the density bonus work, they might have to reduce their parking. So this project actually able to provide in sufficient parking by code. So I think that was one of the good thing that I support this project. So respond to the public comments. I just want to clarify one thing: is this a condo project or apartment building?
Condo, correct? Ownership?
You mean if they're for sale or,
Right.
or rent?
Yes.
So the market rate units would be for sale, and the 8 affordable units will be for rental.
Oh, so it's partially for sale? I see. Okay.
I'll have the applicant.
Sorry, I just checked on my shoulder. We are doing a condo map for it, but these units will be for rental.
Okay, so you are doing condo map, but it will be for lease.
Yes, they're being rented, yeah.
I see. Thank you. Okay.
So does that mean all the units will be rented?
So according to the applicant, the project will be for lease. Although they have condo map,
None
yeah.
will be for sale, right?
Eventually, it could be for sale if you have the condo map.
I guess if you create a condo, convert them to condos or something.
Yes, I think that's what they are doing, yeah.
Okay.
Overall speaking, I think the project has gone through many reviews with the city, working with city architect, working with the planning department and all the staffs, and the design is pretty excellent. I am happy to see a project like this will be built in San Gabriel. And I just wanted to add that the design is pretty good, but I think the implementation is even more important. Make sure that the project will be built according to design with all the layers, the details, and richness. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
Yeah, no, I like the project. I think it looks very nice. I think it would be an asset for San Gabriel. And in reference to the comments, the parking from the neighborhood, people nearby, I think that what they're referring to is the parking space. I guess they're parking their cars there in that area. The residents nearby or something, and they're I guess that was my understanding, that they're gonna lose being able to park there instead of in front of their house or other apartments nearby or something like that. There's nothing we can do about that. The project provides you ample parking. It's structured, I think, pretty good. So I think it's sadly it has no bearing on something here. I like the project. Again, like in the project prior that we had with low-income housing. Again, who monitors that? How does that get monitored? Who keeps an eye on it and making sure that it is being carried through and all that? Those are just my questions.
As a question, anything that is income restricted is recorded to the unit. And also there's a housing agreement that's tied to this project. So anytime it's sold or rented, that's information that has to be disclosed, and it runs with the unit.
My question is, who who's in charge of disclosing that? For example, I can go rent it at low income and then turn around and sublease it for.
Right, it would be several checks and balance. So starting with the housing agreement that the property owner has with the city, then also the escrow and the realtor. It's their duty to pass the information on to whoever purchases the property.
And I believe there's also housing audits that are done.
Well, that was my.
There's a
how does that
reporting
get
requirement
monitored?
as well, right?
So it's not, okay, I got this for dirt cheap.
Yeah, nobody ever checks on it,
Turn it around and, flip it and I'm gonna make money.
Yeah, it's kind of LA with
That is correct.
with some
There's
of the
audits.
controlled rents.
Yes.
So, and covenants,
I'm just asking the questions.
yeah, good questions.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Sela?
I actually have a question for staff. I really like the variety of uses on the ground floor. But at the same time, I wonder, is there some way to control the commercial tenants? I don't know, I don't think we can in this commission, but is there some way to control what retail tenants can occupy the spaces? Because I see there's townhouses, live, work, and then there are two commercial components, a bank or a restaurant or something. And, yeah, like a candle shop or a flower shop would be great in those live, work spaces, but I don't want to see a dispensary or a massage parlor or people walking by going home, something like that. I wonder if there's some way that we can control that.
Any retail commercial use that's permitted by the zone is allowed.
It's allowed,
Commercial
okay.
spaces. Anything that is subject to a conditional use permit, such as massage, would have to receive approval from the Planning Commission. So there are uses that are discretionary, subject to public hearings.
Thank you.
If I may, please. One comment regarding to that. Can we restrict, for example, signage, no neon signage, like the massage parlors are notorious for that. It just blares out 3 blocks away.
Yeah, the signage program will come to the Design Review Commission to review.
And going back to your question, Vice Chair Salo, way back when, in the early 2000s, I was the economic development specialist for the city of San Gabriel. And because there are laws to say what, you can't use any of these approved uses, that I would think that this would be an optimum site for the current economic development manager to promote. So the development team has their brokers, but when you have the city kind of looking out for specific uses and marketing the site at like ICSC or these international conferences, you can try to get the type of tenants that you want. And that's why when I was asking about loading, loading, parking, signage, freeway adjacencies, other adjacencies, those are the types of things that people are looking for before they make an economic decision, especially when you're looking at, this is probably going to be a site where the main places on Del Mar are going to have to be credit tenants. So you can't, on Del Mar, I don't see, most developers wouldn't lease that to, Joe's Rugs, it's gonna be someone with some muscle behind them. And I think that would behoove, if you could, Sam, if you can pass this on to your economic
Property
development
owner is in the audience, so hopefully he's taking lots of notes.
Yeah, because that's going to make a difference when you have the city working with the development team to get the right tenancies inside. And when I worked for the city of San Gabriel, that's how I learned a ton about planning and working with the planning staff and, you know, marketing things together. So I think hopefully that will happen and we can get some good tendencies here.
Thank you.
So, I kind of like to talk about the comment that we received saying that we shouldn't build this because it's overcrowded and we're going to lose property values. When we're looking at our major corridors, and the state of California actually is demanding to the development of residential on these types of corridors. And this site here, you can walk to a park, you can walk to hotels, you can walk to restaurants, all kinds of restaurants, a market. All of these things are within a couple blocks. If you want to buy high-end jewelry, you can walk to that. It is extremely walkable. And what's there right now, I think this is a gateway to the city, and what's there doesn't necessarily represent what the city has to offer. And I think this would be a good improvement, and not necessarily something that would lower our values, but with having the units being different sizes, that provides affordability depending on what someone has available to pay for housing, and to have the much needed low-income housing. And most developers, when they have low-income housing, it's not, you don't want to build a whole building, a tenement of low-income housing, but it should be integrated. And that's what this project does in a respectful way. So I think overall, this will be an asset for the residents and for the community. I could take a long walk there. Maybe I will. You know, sometimes I've walked from Pasadena to San Gabriel at least maybe 2, 3, almost 3 dozen times. So it's very doable, but I think we all need to look at different ways to get to point A to point B. Driving our car might not always be the solution, and this gives people the opportunity to live right next to a freeway, on and off ramp. So for the people who need to get in their car and, you know, go to work or whatever, they have that opportunity. It's freeway close, and the 47 is a great bus line that'll take you downtown LA. And from this point, probably in 15 minutes, you can be in downtown LA. And that's a pretty cool asset to have. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox here, and let's see what we want to vote on this project. It sounds like we're all definitely in favor. I know we're going to be looking at the signage program in the future, the public art program in the future. So those elements are going to be coming back to us. I don't think we have any real conditions at this point. So is there a motion?
I motion to approve the project.
Thank you. Second? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Tu,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Salo,
Yes.
and Chair Romo.
Yes.
The vote is 4-0, motion passed.
Congratulations. Okay, comments from the planning manager.
No comments.
Okay. Commissioner comments and conferences, meeting reports. Commissioner Tu, do you have anything?
I just wanted to add on the housing, like the public comment for this project, like the neighbors concerned about more development is gonna bring down their property value. That it makes me think about the housing crisis that we are in. We don't have enough housing, and that's the main problem. The state is trying to do everything they can to encourage more housing being built. And recently, this new law come out, 1033, allowed the ADU to be sold as a condominium, and I think that is a really interesting thing to bring up because that's gonna change the landscape. And I think that's what we would like to see, and the easing of the regulation to encourage more building, more housing, to help us out in this crisis. Some thoughts.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
Just as an extension of what you were saying, and I think the concern was that the less housing there is, the higher the prices are. So yes, it would definitely impact the prices. However, it'll drive tons of people out of the state because if they can't afford to live here, then that would have a detrimental effect on real estate. So we'll have to do a little part to the development, and that there's more and more of us. So.
It's attractive project. It's gonna bring up the value of
I believe so too.
the city
Yep.
of the San Gabriel. You know, this is the gateway when you enter the city. Yeah, it's interesting to hear that like people were concerned about certain things that yeah, it's contradictory. What is the common sense?
Vice Chair Sala?
I don't have anything to add.
I just have one comment on all of this. At our last meeting, we heard from Commissioner Chang, and he was saying that in LA, they're not even requiring parking. So I think for us, before the state goes in this direction where they're saying we need housing so bad, you know, parking is 40,000 per 50,000 per parking space, and it drives the cost of each residential unit up. So, you know, no parking. And there have been some people in the state who want that to happen. It's important for us to have these good infill development projects that provide code parking right now before that's taken away from us as far as a city regulation. And I think that's, we're in this position where we need to act before the state takes things away from us. So this gives us that opportunity. Thank you all for being here tonight. I look forward to, I'm curious about this Euclid project in the future, hoping to see good things. We've made a bit difference, and I'm really proud of the work that we've been doing. Thank you.